I don't believe that humility is a destination. I don't believe that humility is a personality type. I don't believe that humility is a ghetto, a socioeconomic status. I don't believe that humility is all these things that society wants us to think it is. I think that humility is a heart posture. Yo, welcome back to Practice the Podcast, where we fuse research and culture to help you develop the mindset, habits, and skills that you need in order to live out your purpose with confidence. I'm your host, Dr. Rees. It's time to get better, y'all. Let's grow.
We talking about practice. Not a game, not a game, not a game. We talking about practice.
Practices are meant to be competitive. They're meant to be competitive. If your practices are more competitive than the games themselves, you're doing the wrong thing.
Yo, we're going to dive in on a subject today that is, it's tough. We're talking about humility. We are talking about humility, and humility is tough because it encompasses so many different things. And I believe it's got a bad rap, and a rap that is softer than what I feel like it really is. Like, even for me coming into this episode, I had to just really like tap in because I want to deliver this in a way that allows you to hear me and allows you to like kind of reshape, not kind of, that reshapes how you think about humility. And really like I'm on put some respect on humility's name. And I've always, not always, for the last umpteen years have been on like put some respect on humility's name, because it's difficult to be humble. It's difficult to be a humble person while confident at the same time. And what we're talking about when we talk about humility, this is the first key aspect when it comes to the authenticity equation. And I do not believe that you can be authentic. I don't believe that you can live out your purpose. And I don't think that you can truly be confident without humility. So for me, humility is the root of everything. And to be humble, I think, is one of the hardest things ever. Because let me slow down. Look. Okay. I'm pumped. I'm excited to be here. This subject means a whole lot to me. And I'm going to do my best to humbly come before you and lay it out. And so what we're going to talk about is humility and its relation to purpose, confidence, but specifically authenticity. And the quote for today is, humility is the root of all goodness. Humility is the root of all goodness. The reason why I believe humility is the root of all goodness is because I don't believe that humility is a destination. I don't believe that humility is a personality type. I don't believe that humility is a ghetto, a socioeconomic status. I don't believe that humility is all these things that society wants us to think it is. I think that humility is a heart posture. And when your heart posture is in the right space, then goodness is going to flow from that. And so humility is the root of all goodness. Now, even if I wrong someone and I authentically, genuinely, intentionally apologize, and that doesn't negate the harm, that doesn't take away the intent, the impact, none of that stuff. However, it requires humility to be able to come back on the other side and apologize and to do the work to regain their trust, to do the work to mend the relationship. Like, it requires humility to come back from a fault and follow up on something, right? So this is why, again, I don't think that humility is soft. Humility is tough as heck. This is why I don't think humility is a destination where folks say humility, or I come from humble beginnings, right? Which usually means it's connected to low socioeconomic status, it's connected to poverty, it's connected to ghettos, it's connected to, which really goes back to like black and brown folks. And I didn't really think about that until just now, how like we often feel like black and brown folks come from humble beginnings, but then like when we try to be confident, it almost appears as if we're not being humble. That's another story for another day, so I can really think that out more. However, that's usually the case, right? Like, people want you to just, like, even I was listening to Kendrick Lamar earlier today, and he sit down, be humble, right? Like, that came on. And I think that there's two parts to it, because he talked about how He said, I'm tired of the Photoshop. So he's even talking about in the humility, just be you. You don't have to try to be somebody, like sit down, be humble, be you. And that I agree with. And I think there's also sit down and be humble, but there's also stand up and be humble. Like both can be true. So this is where I don't connect humility to a personality type as far as introvert and extrovert. And a lot of folks might think that just because somebody is more quiet, that they're more humble. I don't agree with that. Like that's just their personality type. Like they might be an introvert, which means they don't like to talk a lot. Like that has nothing to do with their level of being humble or not. They just may not voice certain things. And just because somebody is loud and audacious and super confident, i.e. we'll talk about, I love Coach Sanders, right? So Coach Prime, like somebody might think because he's loud and he's black and he's confident and he's pumped and he's energetic and he's an extrovert that he may lack humility, but that's just simply not the case. And so we have to make sure that we're not attaching humility and humble to introvert, extrovert. That's not the case, right? Again, it goes back to being the heart posture. Just because somebody's soft-spoken don't mean they're more humble than the person who has a loud voice, right? And this is where, again, Black folks and women will get bad raps. Oftentimes it's being seen as not humble because they utilize their voices, because they speak up, because sometimes they're loud. And I think that that's something to be able to that we really have to start looking into, especially when it comes to confident in people stepping out in being who they were created to be, which is everything that we're talking about, right? Is authenticity, which is the root of you-ish, is you being able to be you so that way you can live out your purpose with confidence, right? Humility and humiliation, I believe, go hand in hand. And I smile when I say that because, oh gosh, y'all ever heard of, somebody ate they got a piece of humble pie. I don't like that. And I don't like that because it's almost as if sometimes people prey on somebody's downfall for them to get the lesson that they needed. And that's going to teach them the thing that they needed to become humble. I don't like it because it's, again, making humility the bad guy. And we don't want humility to be the bad anything. We want humility to be the thing that we run towards. We want humility to be the thing that we seek daily. We want humility to be the thing that guides us, which is why I call humility our heart posture. Because when my heart is set on and rooted in pursuing goodness, even when I have to eat some humble pie because I did something, I'm not going to not want to face whatever it is. Like, are you catching what I'm saying? Like, we don't want humility to be something people want to avoid. So when you say, oh, they ate their humble pie, oh, they got what they deserved and they deserve to be humbled. You know what I'm saying? Like, just like, I don't want it to be something we don't want. I want humility to be something that we thirst and long for, because when you're humble, you increase and grow in your wisdom. When you're humble, you pursue vulnerability. When you're humble, you pursue authenticity, because you're not afraid of just showing up. Humility shows up. Humility is not afraid to be themselves. That's why humility and humiliation are attached to each other, because when you're willing to be humble, you're willing to pursue humility, there's going to be moments that you are going to be humiliated. And so if I'm willing to, and this is where audacity comes into play, is you have the audacity to show up as you, knowing that some people are not going to accept you. But I'm rooted in humility. So I know that there's always going to be opposition. I know there's going to be somebody out here that don't rock with what I got going on. And that just is what it is. But I still have the audacity to show up as me. And in some spaces and places, that is going to equate to humiliation. I've talked about this before, where embarrassment is a part of the journey and the process. Embarrassment is the part of expanding our comfort zone. Embarrassment is going to happen. Like, if we think about FOPO, fear of other people's opinions, fear of other people's opinions is attached to embarrassment. which is then attached to fear, obviously, but it's also attached to like, maybe I won't. So now I'm going to cower. So now I'm not going to pursue because of the what could happen. But if I just humbled myself and said, I'm going to pursue this regardless of the outcome, I know that humiliation is a possibility, but when there's humiliation, there's increased humility, which allows me to show my humanity. Hear me when I say this: humility, humiliation, humanity. The hums. Those three words mean so much to me because you will not be able to pursue and be your authentic self, which is rooted in your humanity, if you aren't willing to embrace humiliation through humility. Now, how do we do this? Why does this matter? Like, I'm not telling you to go out here and humiliate yourself. I'm not telling you to do that. However, what I am saying is that right now my lips are chapped, and so sorry, I got to put on some chapstick because I felt okay. So the reason why this is important is because if we believe humility is the root of all goodness and it's a heart posture, all things that come from a humble heart are going to produce fruit. Now, another reason why I love this is I actually have a tattoo of this on my leg, and it says it's a tree, and it has a bunch of fruit coming out of it, and at the root of the tree is humility. Now, because I believe when you are rooted in humility, you're willing to embrace the entire process. That's the ups, that's the downs, that's the having FOPO and still pursuing, that's the having fear and choosing faith. That is the embracing all of it in order to produce fruit, because you won't produce any positive fruit from your life unless you're attached to humility. You won't be able to pursue and exude wisdom unless you embrace humility, right? And our humiliating situations teach us stuff. So unless you're willing to pursue, you know that the process is going to include some type of humiliation. And when there's humiliation, there's also a story that's going to connect you to somebody else, because that's going to allow empathy and compassion and connectedness to also be a part of that. So when we think about all these different things in relation to our authenticity, you have to know I have to anchor my heart in humility first if I want to be able to produce the fruit of being true to me. It just is what it is. So when we think about it, humility is an authentic view of self. Now, I'm using obviously authentic in the definition of humility in relation to authenticity. However, there's kind of no other way to say it, right? Authentic is pure, it's organic, it's as is. So when I have an authentic and holistic view of self, that means it is pure, it is organic, it is the way it is, and holistic means it's every single part of me. So humility is authentic, the way it is, holistic, every single part view of me. So when I look at me, when I look at not just the makeup of me, when I look at my heart, which is me, when I look at the me that who I am, it requires vulnerability. It requires transparency. It requires patience for me to sit down and look at my heart and look at my motives and look at my why and look at my how I do what I do and give myself forgiveness and give myself grace and give myself the strength and the power to get back up and do it again and give myself the energy to embrace the things that just are like, ugh, but to also go, ooh, I see that strength. I see that gift. I see the things I've overcome. I see that resilient mind. I see that mental toughness. I see that performance. I see that confidence. I see all the things because it's the holistic view. It's the both and. Humility is the both and. Not the this or that. It's the both and. And when you allow yourself to have an authentic and holistic view of self in the both and, that allows you to be your most authentic self. When your view of you is rooted in the both and you still pursue, that's being confident. That is confidently pursuing you and being you and showing up as you and who you are. And so if you're unclear of what holistic means many parts of one. So you have multiple different parts Obviously physically you have multiple different parts, but there's multiple different parts of you. Not saying you have multiple personalities. However, there are different minds and things that are voices in your head and aspects of you and gifts and talents that you have and things that you love to do. And there's so many things that make up you. So you have to see all aspects of you without judgment. So the authentic view and the holistic view, the view and the perception of it has to be without judgment. And the reason why it has to be without judgment is because that's where humility takes judgment's place. Because you know that judgment could come from the humiliation, but when I'm coming humbly to sit and see and look, it means I'm removing the judgment from the situation and just seeing the situation just as it is. Seeing me for who I am. And this is why having you-ish time is so important, because when you have you-ish time, which is your time set and set apart for you, there should be no judgment that shows up. Because when you judge, you're nitpicking and you're not allowing yourself to show up authentically as you. You're not allowing your pains and your hurts and your thoughts to just arise. And this is where the benefits of meditation come into play, because it's not that your brain shuts down when you meditate. It's that there's going to be a bunch of different thoughts that are going to run through your mind when you do. And so when they do, let them arise. We talk about this, all the time as well, as that negative thoughts are natural. So allow the negative thoughts to rise, but then use your strength of curiosity. Use your gift of curiosity to be like, ooh, why is that a thought that I have? Why do I feel this way about that? Why did I do that? So when you allow yourself to be curious about you with no judgment, and you insert humility, that allows you to get to know you that much better and to get more comfortable with you, and to allow that to be the you that shows up in spaces. Because when you can be more comfortable with you, you're more comfortable with putting that you out there in the world, because you're like, well, I'm comfortable with me, so I don't really care what they got to say, because I'm the one that's got to live with me. So in humility, in this holistic view of self, I'm aware of my strengths and my shortcomings. I'm aware of my winnings and my losses. I'm aware of my ability to excel and my ability to be like, yeah, that ain't a strength in the area for me. So the next piece to that is, when we think of humility as a heart posture, humility eats it, takes it on the chin, takes the L. I know a lot of people, it's like there's no losses, just lessons. But it's a loss. It's a loss is a loss is a loss. And believe me, I've lost a whole lot. I didn't put this in my notes to talk about, but I took my first year of coaching was loss after loss after loss after loss. And I don't just mean on the court, I mean in life. I lost somebody who at that moment in time in life was like a best friend. I lost somebody who was like a brother. Then I physically lost my mom. And then we went 1-25. We won one game. That was the only win I took out of that year of life. Talk about losses. Now, in those losses, there were also lessons. But I would also argue, and I'm not right now in this moment actively working this out, was probably the most humbling year of my life. Now, there were moments, ooh, God, this is good. Now I'm actively working this out with you guys. There were moments and times before that I took some losses. But then there was a duration of time between I was my sophomore year of college to about 26. So let's say, what is that? 20 to 20, there's a 6-year span. Thank you, God, that I attach my identity to my performance. For 6 years, I attached my identity to my performance because I lost my identity in who it was that I really was and who it really was that I wanted to be. So when I talked about last week in this on why authenticity is so important to me and how you can still be really good at your gifts and your performance and all of those things and your talents, but you could lose out on your identity. I'm saying that because that was me. I did that. I lost me. I hung my hat on how I could perform. I hung my hat on my gifts and my talents. I hung my hat on all my achievements and all my accolades. I hung my hat on it. That was it. And so because of that, I lacked humility for humanity. I lacked humility for humanity. And not just other people's humanity, I lacked humility for my own humanity. And when you lack humility for your own humanity, what do you get? You hit a ceiling. You become somebody who's only attached to putting my worth into whatever my performance. And now you really lose yourself in what you're doing, and it's hard to really find your way, and you're floating around. And again, this is why this subject is so important to me, is because of that, is because this was my lived experience. And even in that time frame, I lost some things. I tore my knee. I got robbed. My little sister was murdered. My grandma had a heart attack. So many different things like that I went through that were humbling. But even in that, I just kept going to performance. What can I do? What can I do? What can I achieve? Because I didn't want to sit with me and be me and pursue me and allow me to trust myself and have the audacity to be me, that I just was being the things that I could produce. So I don't know how much fruit I really produced because I was focusing on just producing other things via my talent. So I wasn't that authentic, because I could look back at pictures and be like, who is she? And then there's people that I knew that were around me in life during that time frame that were like, I lacked humility. And I didn't have very many friends. I didn't have that solid of a village because I lacked humility. And this is why I'm so passionate about people being able to pursue this. And so to bring it back to taking the L, so I went 6 years on that journey. So then in that moment, in that year of just L's, I was like, I had nothing left. I had nothing else to give. Everything was stripped away from me. And I had to recirculate and figure out, how do I rewalk? How do I breathe again? How do I show up still? How do I recruit players after saying we went 1-25 last year? How do I build a program? How do I have trust and faith in the fact that I even still know how to coach and teach? How do I know how to be the person that I am without my mom being here? How do I know that I'm a good friend? How do I know how to be a sister? How do I know how to be a leader? How do I know how to perform? How do I even know any of those things? God help me. God help me. And I can't even front, y'all. Like, it was literally me falling on my knees, falling on my face, falling on my stomach. And I'm talking literally. I'm not talking hypothetically. I remember laying on the carpet in my apartment, just being like crying. Now, obviously I was going through the worst pain of losing my mom, but there was so much more on top of it. Like being laughed at for losing, for trying to build, and then in the midst of that, trying to encouraging folks every single day, encouraging an entire team every day to show up to practice, to have fun, to be committed to the program. Like how do you take L's and you just eat it and you still show up? So my thought process, my confidence, is based off of that. It's because I took losses and I learned lessons, but I still showed up. And that for me is why humility is the most important, is because when I look back on that time frame from that 6 years up until now, and it's been another 6 years, I've had to go on an intense humility journey of knowing I'm not too good. I'm not too good to lose. I'm not too cute to be ugly. I'm not too fly to take an L. I'm not it. I'm not too on my high horse to not commit and do certain things. Like, I've taken L after L after L after L after L. But there's so many more wins in that as well. But humility is being You just take it, you eat it. You just eat the L, you take the L, you take it on the chin, you look at it, you analyze it, but you don't become it. Like, I think that's where the participation trophy kind of thing comes into play. Like, no, it's okay to take an L. It's okay to lose. We don't want to lose. I hate losing more than I like winning. Like, I like, and that might be an issue somewhere. Like, I like winning. Winning is fun, but losing, ugh, I can't stand it. Right? It hurts. But that might be because there's a parts of me that's attached to, and that's the competitor, right? Like, I'm a competitor, so I hate losing. But in that, though, there's a humility that understands that it's a part of the process and that I'm going to take L's. But on the other side, y'all, I'm gracious when it comes to getting a dub. And when I think about it, too, it's so interesting, right? Because there's a lot of talk in society of like, us being able to celebrate more. And I think this might be a part of it, is like being able to celebrate with humility. And when you celebrate, like even as a coach, as we started to win more, I had to have people tell me, yo, celebrate the dub and get back to the other things tomorrow. Like, this is why I just love coaching in sports, because there's so much of life. Like, even when I went from losing so much that then when I started to win, sometimes the wins weren't even good enough. Like, why is it that we have this thought process that sometimes winning and however we win isn't good enough, right? That we want to hurry and get back to the next win. And so now it's like humility forces me to be content. Humility allows me to be content, which is why humility is a heart posture. Now, winning can teach you, because when you're a competitor, you want to try to strive and get better, because you look at the lessons in winning and losing the same way. But there's a gracious way to celebrate. There's a gracious way to enjoy the fruits of your labor, because if you don't enjoy the fruits of your labor, then you're going to want to stop laboring. And let's be honest, when you don't enjoy the fruits of your labor, you're going to want to stop laboring, because you're like, what's the point? So yes, I'm trusting the process, but a part of the process is that intrinsic and extrinsic motivation to go get something. I work hard to get the dub. You know what I'm saying? And even when I work hard and it's an L, I still have to get back up and get back to it, because I know that there's something else on the other side of it. And so being able, like, humility has driven me to be a harder worker, because working hard doesn't guarantee a dub. Like, working hard, just because you work hard, just because you show up, just because you do your thing, just because I get up at 4 a.m. and I do this and that, just because I record this video don't mean a bunch of people are going to watch it. Just because you do it don't mean a positive result. You know what I'm saying? Always on the other side of it. But humility is something that keeps you attached to the process. So whether it's an L or a dub, an L that you learn, you eat, you take on the chin, and a dub that you celebrate, but then you get back to it. So it's not a paranoia. It's not an anxiety. It's a like, I'm going to continue on the process because I still see that there's so much more to come. And I think it's important for us to learn to celebrate. To learn to celebrate ourselves, especially when you do get the dub and you do get the win, right? How do I celebrate it? Even when I think about finishing my doctorate, I had somebody ask me recently, like, what do you do to celebrate? And I'm like, they're like, what? You know what I'm saying? Like, so I didn't know what I was going to do. And I'm still like, not sure for multiple different reasons. But you got to be able to celebrate you. And celebration isn't a lack of humility. You're not celebrating and taunting. You're celebrating that you worked hard and it paid off. You're celebrating the fact that you didn't give up. And just because you celebrate doesn't mean that you're not humble. You know what I'm saying? The same way, and this is where humility comes into play, because humility means regardless of the outcome, I'm going to do what's necessary. When there's a loss, I'm going to eat it and I'm going to analyze the lessons and then I'm going to apply what I learned. When there's a dub, I'm going to take it with grace and gratitude and be excited and celebrate and then still get back to work, because nothing's guaranteed. And I tell my son, he's hooping now, or he's playing sports in general, but he's hooping, and we talked about like, I'm going to take a win like a beast. I'm going to take a loss like a beast. Either way, I'm still a beast. And I think that's humility. It's not, I'm going to take an L, I'm going to be mad, I'm having attitude because I lost. And then when I get a win, I'm going to be pumped and excited and be arrogant. In both, I'm going to be a beast. And my definition of beast is being gracious. And I think these are words that some people might deem as soft, but I think that they're actually really, really hard to obtain. They're really, really hard to do and be because our human nature wants to be angry. Our human nature wants to taunt and flaunt and show. But when your heart posture is anchored in a specific way, you can celebrate you and then know you're going to go get back after it. You can take the L and not be defeated and turn away and quit. And so, man, that's so fun. I'm glad that I was able, this is why, real quick, this is why doing this podcast is just as much for y'all as it is for me. Because some of this wasn't even on my notes to really go over for this, but I needed this. God knew I needed this just as much. Hopefully it is to bless you, but that's the humility part. I'm not trying to show up here and be like, oh, I've got all the answers. Absolutely not. I have to humble myself. And I promise you, full transparency, before recording this, I think I said this earlier, like I have to pray and ask God to meet me at the mic, that I can deliver information and a message to y'all that's going to benefit you. And a part of humility is being transparent and is being vulnerable. And that is what I just shared with you. Major L's and losses that I've taken in life. So it's easy to, show Instagram cool stuff. Look at me doing all this. But there's L's on a daily basis. And that is humility. Humility is also an energy that keeps you going, but keeps you anchored, keeps you seeking mentorship and being a mentor at the same time, right? Seeking lessons, giving out lessons. Because again, it's connected to humiliation, it's connected to humanity, and it's connected to your heart, and it's the root of all goodness. And so I'm going to skip ahead. Not skip ahead, I'm going to move on. So now here's the thought process here, right? Humility seeks wisdom. And when I say humility seeks wisdom, it's connected to what I was just talking about when it comes to mentorship and leadership and advice and learning and all that stuff. Humility seeks wisdom in a way that it knows there's something out there that I still don't know. It's like, I always bring up my son, our son, because it just being a parent is like a part of your everyday existence. And I love being able to be on this side of life now, right? But he's got this, like, we're having to teach him, like, nobody likes a know-it-all. Because he's in there like, I know. And bruh's mad smart. So he sometimes really do know. But we're having to teach the humility of, like, one, it's okay not to know. And two, even if you do know, you don't know it all. Bruh, you only been here for 7 years. You know what I'm saying? But in that, though, as a grown adult, just because I have a doctorate, I don't know everything. I ain't better than nobody. Ooh, that's another piece. Okay. I want to try to remember. I'm going to go here real quick. Humility means I don't think I'm better than anybody else. Humility isn't just thinking of myself less, right? Humility isn't just thinking less of myself. Humility is also like, I don't think I'm better than you. I'm just trying to be better than who I used to be. So a lot of I don't think because I have degrees and all these different whatever, I'm not better than nobody else. Humility means like I understand my accolades, my performance, my gifts, my talents, my purpose. I respect them all. I also truly respect me, and I'm not trying to be better than you. My competitiveness isn't rooted in trying to be better than you from a humanity stance. Like my humility just means I think of myself less in certain situations, which drive me to be more selfless, right? I think less of me and who I am. And I definitely don't think less of you. So when it comes to humility and humanity, there is no here for me, right? That's the heart posture. That's a part of being confident, where some people like to misconstrue humanity or humility and make it as if somebody is trying to be confident, they might think that they're better than somebody else. Now, if somebody perceives your humility and your confidence in you being authentically you as you being better than them, that's not your problem. That's their problem. That's a lack of their ability to see you for who you are. And the reason why I say this is because, again, there's always opposition. There are going to be people who know your heart, who know you being authentically you being confident, you pursuing the things and you talking and sharing and inspiring and all those other things is not you trying to say you're better than anybody else. That's you, respecting your journey and doing what you feel is best and is on your heart. Other people might see it the other way, and that's totally fine. Why? Because opposition is necessary. It's always there. And so that's something that's really important to know when it comes to humility. Humility is if you think that you're better than someone, you're higher than someone, that's not humility. And it definitely ain't confidence, right? And that's not rooted in authenticity. I believe that's rooted in insecurity, arrogance, and so many other things, which is not what we're talking about today. But to go backwards, to move forward, where humility seeks wisdom in knowing, like, I need leadership, I need advisors, I need counsel, right? There is knowledge in wisdom and growth in seeking counsel when it comes to making life decisions, when making moves. Which is why, like, peer reviews and having other people review things and look at things and sharing ideas, which is why communities and mentorship and all this stuff is pricelessly valuable. Having social capital is pricelessly valuable because it's you seeking wisdom, and it requires humility to seek wisdom. Now, catch this. Think about when you were a kid and you were afraid to raise your hand, about how that impacted you as an adult, to where now you're afraid to ask questions because you're afraid of being humiliated. So that act of raising your hand in humility to seek guidance and seek wisdom turned into humiliation in class, turned into you as an adult not wanting to ask questions and seek guidance. So now you're out here making a whole bunch of mistakes and taking L's that you don't really have to take, simply because you're afraid of embracing humiliation, which is rooted in humility. And this is what I'm trying to get to, is like, you have to be able to embrace both, but humility is connected to wisdom when you're able to humble yourself in your heart and say, I have to go get some information from somebody else. It don't make you less than. It don't make you a small, like, again, that's a societal thing of like, no. Seek counsel, seek wisdom, go read books, go talk to people, go get a mentor, go get a leader, be a leader. Like, it goes both ways. And that's why why this is connected to authenticity, because you're able to pursue fully being you and ask other people questions about the process. And so humility, when it comes to being, pursuing wisdom, is also like you're a lifelong learner about all things, especially you. All the things that you love, all the ways that you are, you're forever being curious about, how can I be better? How can I show up better? How can I do more? But also, like, the same thing for the world around you and for your gifts and talents. You're all learning and unlearning. When I say it's a journey, the whole entire thing is a journey. And so here's another couple things I'm going to give, and I'm going to move ahead. We're going to close this thing out, right? Humility talks and listens, and it knows when to do both. That's a part of that self-awareness. Humility talks and listens. And the reason why this is important when it comes to authenticity is because when you are authentically yourself, you're able to show up in spaces as you, and you know what to provide to that table. You know what to provide to that space, because that self-awareness and that humility are guiding you in that way. So again, you're humble enough to know when to talk. You're humble enough to know when to listen. You're humble enough, nah, I don't need a response. You're humble enough just to know, okay, cool. And that becomes a part of your makeup and your personality and your character identity that people get familiar with when it comes to you. That's your authentic self. There's some folks that are just talkers, just straight talkers. And that just might be their authentic self. You might know that's not the friend I want to go to with something, because all they're going to do is talk. They're not going to listen, right? And so I'll say these last two things. Humility is a source of wisdom and encouragement, right? To be humble is a source of wisdom and encouragement to yourself and to others. to look at a kid and be able to know that you can still learn from a kid, to be able to learn from somebody. I had somebody a long time ago when I was coaching. They heard me having a conversation with another coach who they deemed as somebody who was like, I think they were an AAU coach. I don't know, maybe been coaching for a while, but this person deemed that coach as being less than me positional wise. And so after I was done talking to that coach, they asked me like, how do you talk? Like, how do you like talk and listen or ask for advice from somebody who may be less than you, right? Again, this was their words. And I was like, because I believe that you can learn from anybody. And I love that happened so that way this person can catch that lesson from that. But that's just something I truly believe. Like, I believe that you can learn from anybody. Even if somebody is doing something extremely wrong, I can learn how not to do it. And I think that it takes humility to be inquisitive. And that, again, is the heart posture. So when this is a part of who you genuinely are and you give yourself permission to be curious and inquisitive, it's only going to benefit your life and add more wisdom and years and length to your life. So here's what I need you to do, okay? There's 3 questions. Check your heart. If humility is a heart posture, I need you to check your heart, check your motives, check your why, check how you show up, check what impedes all the things for you. Check what opens up doors for you. Check the root of it. Just check it. Check your heart and analyze your heart. Do an overview of how it is. How is your posture sitting? Is it tight? Is it rigid? Is it bordered? Like how is your heart? Number 2, I want you to ask yourself, how do you view humility? Is it like some of the way society likes to paint it, just for introverts and soft-spoken folks, or it's a humble beginning, it's a location, it's a talking and speaking less than of myself, right? Listening to this episode, did you cringe a little bit about certain things that I said? Or are you like, okay, cool, like what? So how do you see humility? And then, do you seek wisdom and give wisdom? So do you seek and give wisdom? And I think that this is a part of humility because it helps make our world go round, and which means it's connected to our purpose, which means it's connected to people. And when you're somebody who authentically seeks and gives wisdom, I just think you're just adding that much more value across the board. So imagine if we lived in a world full of people who were humble and confident. How fire would that be? Humbly confident people. Now, the world may not be able to be that, but you can create your world and your village and your community to be that. And I think that'll be a powerful thing that empowers you to be as filthy as you can be, right? So I'm here for it. I appreciate it. I appreciate you. I'm going to step away from this because I'm sure I've done talked already for about 40 some minutes, and I can go on for forever because, again, humility is a journey just like everything else. And I sincerely, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for tapping in. Thank you for being with me on this journey humbly as I just show up however I do to try to provide value. So I ask that you like, subscribe, share, and talk to me in the comments. Like, what are some things that you may struggle with when it comes to humility and humiliation and FOPO and all these other different things? But I really hope that this empowered you to be your best self, to be your most authentic self in some way, and that you're like, okay, I'm going to embrace humility so that way I can be me that much more. And at the end of the day, I need you to do 2 things. I need you to remember that you are the bag and to continue with confidence. Until the next time, I'm your host, Dr. Rees. Peace.